The mall buzzed with the energy of the holiday season. Bright lights sparkled on every railing, festive tunes played from hidden speakers, and the towering Christmas tree stood proudly at the center of it all, its ornaments reflecting the glow of warm, golden lights. Families laughed, shoppers hurried past with overflowing bags, and the air carried a mix of cinnamon, pine, and the tempting aroma of freshly baked pretzels. Amid this holiday cheer, a young boy, Ethan, stood clutching his adoptive mother Anna's hand, his wide eyes filled with wonder. But it wasn't the sights or sounds of the season that made Ethan stop in his tracks. It was a man, a tall, commanding man dressed in a sleek, navy suit, speaking to a gathering crowd by the Christmas tree. Ethan tugged at Anna's sleeve, his voice rising above the din. "Mom," he said, pointing directly at the man. "That guy looks just like me." Anna froze, her smile faltering as she turned to see who had captured Ethan's attention. Her breath caught. The man on stage wasn't just any speaker, he was Logan Carter, a billionaire tech mogul and philanthropist whose name appeared regularly in the news. Logan was known for his wealth, power, and charitable efforts, but now, under the soft glow of the holiday lights, Anna couldn't deny the striking resemblance between him and her son. Ethan's words echoed in her mind, sparking a flicker of doubt she had long buried. Was it simply a coincidence? Or was there something more to the story? Something she wasn't ready to confront? This moment at the mall would set in motion a series of events that neither Anna nor Logan could have foreseen, unraveling truths about their pasts and forcing them to face the complexities of family, identity, and love. This journey will captivate you if you're drawn to stories of unexpected connections, heartache, and the power of second chances. Stay tuned to see how one boy's innocent observation uncovers secrets that will forever change the lives of those involved. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe now for more heartfelt tales that inspire and move you. Ethan's hazel eyes, wide with curiosity, didn't leave the man on stage. He tugged at Anna's sleeve again, this time more insistently. "Mom, look at him. He looks like me. Same eyes, same nose." His voice carried excitement and conviction that only an 8-year-old could muster. Around them, a few passersby glanced curiously at the boy, drawn by his enthusiasm. Anna's heart pounded as she crouched to meet Ethan's gaze, her voice soft but firm. "Sweetheart, people can sometimes look alike without being related. It doesn't mean anything. Okay?" She forced a reassuring smile, but inside, her mind churned. She wanted to dismiss his observation as a child's imagination, yet the resemblance was undeniable. Logan Carter's sharp features, his strong jawline, piercing hazel eyes, and even the curve of his brow mirror Ethan's. Ethan frowned, clearly unconvinced. "But what if he is, Mom? What if he's my real dad?" His innocent words struck Anna like a thunderbolt. A few shoppers paused, their attention now lingering on the conversation. Heat rose to her cheeks as she realized they were attracting stares. "We don't have time for this, Ethan," Anna said, her voice more curt than she intended. She stood abruptly, gripping his hand tighter. "Let's finish our errands." "But Mom," Ethan protested, his tone growing louder. "Not now," Anna interrupted, her tone leaving no room for argument. Ethan fell silent, though his wide eyes locked on Logan as Anna hurried him toward the bookstore. Even as they walked away, Ethan craned his neck to steal one last glance at the man who had unknowingly sparked a whirlwind of questions. Anna's mind raced. She had been transparent with Ethan about his adoption, explaining in age-appropriate terms that his birth parents couldn't take care of him. The details of his adoption, however, were limited, partly because it had been a closed adoption but mostly because she had never pressed for more information. It hadn't seemed necessary until now. Her gaze lingered on Ethan as they walked. His excitement from earlier had dimmed, replaced by a quiet pensiveness. His tiny fingers clung to her hand, but she could feel the unspoken questions bubbling beneath the surface. As they rounded a corner, Anna couldn't resist glancing back toward the stage. Logan was still there, addressing the crowd with his commanding presence. No matter how much she tried to convince herself otherwise, the resemblance was too much to ignore. Her stomach churned as a question she had buried for years surfaced, persistent and unrelenting. Who is Ethan's father? Logan Carter adjusted the microphone and scanned the sea of faces before him, his speech on holiday giving flowing effortlessly. As the founder of one of the largest tech empires, Logan was no stranger to public speaking. He often commanded rooms filled with executives, investors, and policymakers. But today something felt different. Mid-sentence, his gaze flicked to a small boy near the crowd's edge. The boy wasn't looking at him with the usual awe or curiosity children often reserved for famous figures. No, this boy's gaze was different, intense, almost searching. For a fleeting moment, Logan faltered, his words momentarily escaping him. He quickly recovered, his polished demeanor masking the unease bubbling within. The boy's face lingered in his mind even as he wrapped up his speech and stepped off the stage. There was something unsettlingly familiar about him. His features, his wide hazel eyes. Logan had rarely paid attention to children in crowds. They all seemed like a blur of laughter and chaos. Yet this boy stood out, and for reasons he couldn't quite articulate, Logan felt a strange pull toward him. As he exited the stage, his assistant, Marissa, approached. "Excellent speech, Mr. Carter. The donations are already pouring in," she said, handing him a tablet with real-time updates on the charity drive. Logan nodded absently, barely registering her words. "Marissa," he said, his tone more abrupt than usual. "Did anyone photograph the event?" "Yes, of course. Our team always documents these appearances for the Foundation's records." "Good," Logan replied. "Send me the pictures as soon as possible." "All of them." Marissa's brow furrowed slightly, but she nodded. "I'll have them sent over by the end of the day." As Logan walked toward the exit, his thoughts returned to the boy. Why can't I stop thinking about him? He shook his head, muttering, "You're imagining things, Carter. Get it together." Later that evening, Logan sat in his expansive office, nursing a glass of scotch as the city skyline glittered beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. The boy's face continued to nag at him, stirring memories he had long buried. Against his better judgment, he opened a box he hadn't touched in years. Inside were faded photographs, a few keepsakes, and a picture of her, Amelia. He traced a finger over her face, his chest tightening. Amelia had been a fleeting chapter in his life, their relationship doomed by his relentless ambition. They had parted ways nearly a decade ago, and he hadn't thought of her in years. But now, with the boy's face etched in his mind, questions he had never dared to ask himself came rushing to the surface. Could it be possible? Could that boy be? Logan set the photo aside, his hand trembling slightly. He didn't have answers yet, but he knew one thing. He needed to find them. Across town, Anna sat in the quiet of her modest living room, her gaze fixed on the adoption papers spread before her. The questions she had avoided for so long now felt impossible to ignore. Somewhere in the distance, Ethan's laughter echoed from his room, a reminder of the little boy she had fought so hard to protect. But as her eyes drifted over the documents, she couldn't help but wonder if keeping the truth buried was best for him, or if it was time to confront the ghosts of the past. Unknowingly bound by the same boy, both Anna and Logan found themselves standing at the precipice of a truth that would soon bring their worlds crashing together. Anna sat at the edge of her bed, the heating system's faint hum filling the room's silence. Spread before her were the adoption papers she had stored away for years, untouched since the day she brought Ethan home. She traced her finger over the official seal, the signatures of strangers who had once decided her son's fate. Her gaze lingered on the single photograph of Amelia, Ethan's birth mother, a young woman with kind eyes and a timid smile. Anna had always wondered about her story but never needed to dig deeper. Until now, Ethan's innocent question had shaken something loose within her, something she couldn't put back in place. What if he's my real dad? His words echoed in her mind, a reminder of the one unanswered question she had avoided all these years. Who was Ethan's father? And why had Amelia left no trace of him? Anna's thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on her bedroom door. "Mom!" Ethan's small voice called out. She quickly slid the papers into the box and shut the lid. "Come in, sweetheart." Ethan peeked inside, clutching his favorite stuffed dinosaur. "Are you mad at me?" Her heart ached at his question. She pulled him close, wrapping him in a hug. "Mad at you? Never. Why would you think that?" Ethan shrugged, his voice barely above a whisper. "You seemed upset when I talked about the man at the mall." Anna sighed, kissing the top of his curly hair. "I wasn't upset with you, Ethan. It's just, grown-ups sometimes have things on their minds that are hard to explain." Ethan pulled back, looking at her with those wide hazel eyes that seemed to hold more understanding than a child his age should. "Do you think he's my dad?" Anna hesitated, the lump in her throat making it hard to speak. "I don't know, honey, but I do know that families aren't just about who looks like who. Families are about love, and I love you more than anything." Ethan nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful. "I know, Mom, but what if he wants to know about me?" Anna didn't have an answer for that. As she tucked him back into bed, she realized that avoiding the truth was no longer an option. Ethan deserved to know where he came from, even if the answers weren't what either of them expected. Logan Carter wasn't a man who let questions go unanswered. By the following day, he was already on the phone with his private investigator, known for his discretion and efficiency. "Her name was Amelia," Logan said, pacing the length of his office. "We were involved about 9 years ago, briefly. I need everything you can find on her. Addresses, records, anything." The investigator, Mark, responded with his usual calm professionalism. "I'll get started right away, Mr. Carter. Do you have any other details about her?" Logan paused, memories of Amelia surfacing unbidden. She had dark hair, and brown eyes. She mentioned growing up in the Midwest, but I never got specifics. We lost touch suddenly. She disappeared. Mark made a note of it. "I'll let you know as soon as I find anything." Logan hung up and sank into his chair, his gaze drifting to the photo of Amelia on his desk. He remembered the last time he saw her, how she had avoided his eyes, her voice trembling as she told him it was over. At the time, he thought it was just another relationship ending, nothing more. Now he wasn't so sure. As the hours passed, Logan buried himself in work, hoping to distract himself from the growing unease gnawing at him. But when Mark called later that evening, Logan's heart raced. "I found her," Mark said, his voice grave. "But I'm afraid it's not good news. Amelia passed away 8 years ago." Logan froze, the words hitting him like a punch to the gut. "What? How?" "The records are vague, but it appears she passed from complications after giving birth. There's no mention of the child in the death certificate, but I've confirmed she gave the baby up for adoption shortly before she died." Logan leaned back in his chair, his mind spinning. "Do we know where the child is now?" "Yes," Mark replied. "His name is Ethan Whitaker. He was adopted by a woman named Anna Whitaker. I've gathered that she's a single mother living in the suburbs." Logan's chest tightened. "Ethan." The name felt heavy with meaning. "Are you sure?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "Yes, sir. The resemblance between you and the boy wasn't a coincidence." Logan ended the call and sat in stunned silence. For years, he had built his life around control, knowing every detail, planning every move. But now, he faced a truth he hadn't anticipated. He had a son, and he had missed 8 years of his life. That night, Logan stared out at the city skyline, a glass of scotch untouched in his hand. The boy he had seen at the mall wasn't just a fleeting face in the crowd. He was a connection to a past Logan had never thought to revisit, and a future he wasn't sure how to navigate. Across the city, Anna sat alone at her kitchen table, the adoption papers still spread before her. She picked up her phone, hesitating, before dialing the number for the adoption agency. When the line connected, she took a deep breath. "Hi, I'm calling about my son's adoption. I need to know more about his birth parents." For both Logan and Anna, the seeds of discovery had been planted. The answers they sought would bring their worlds closer together, setting the stage for a confrontation that would challenge everything they thought they knew about family, love, and what it means to belong. Anna parked her car outside the towering glass building of Carter Enterprises, her hands trembling on the steering wheel. She had spent the entire drive rehearsing what she would say, but now that she was here, her resolve wavered. What if Logan Carter dismissed her concerns? What if he didn't care? Or worse, what if he wanted to take Ethan away? In the back seat, Ethan sat quietly, clutching his favorite stuffed dinosaur. His usual chatter was absent, replaced by a pensive expression that tugged at Anna's heart. "Are you nervous, buddy?" she asked, smiling as she turned to him. Ethan nodded slightly. "A little. What if he doesn't like me?" Anna's chest tightened. She reached back, taking his small hand in hers. "That's impossible. You're the most amazing kid in the world. If he doesn't see that, then it's his loss." Ethan gave her a small, tentative smile, but the uncertainty in his eyes remained. Anna knew she couldn't shield him from the complexities of what lay ahead, but she could stand by him every step of the way. Inside Logan's office, the atmosphere was tense. Logan stood by the window, his sharp hazel eyes fixed on the city skyline as he awaited their arrival. He had barely slept since learning the truth about Ethan. For a man who prided himself on control, this was uncharted territory. He had no idea how to navigate meeting his son for the first time or what to say to the woman who had raised him. When the door opened, Logan turned, his breath catching as his eyes landed on Ethan. The resemblance was even more striking up close. Those hazel eyes, the curve of his brow, the way he carried himself. Logan felt he was looking at a reflection of his younger self. "Mr. Carter," Anna began, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions within her. "Thank you for meeting with us." Logan's gaze shifted to Anna, and he nodded, his expression unreadable. "Please call me Logan, and thank you for coming. I know this can't be easy." Anna gestured for Ethan to step forward. "This is Ethan." Logan knelt to meet Ethan's eye level, his normally commanding presence softening. "Hi, Ethan. It's nice to meet you." Ethan hesitated, clutching his dinosaur tightly. "Hi," he said quietly, his voice barely audible. Logan smiled gently. "Is that your dinosaur? What's his name?" Ethan's grip on the toy loosened slightly. "His name's Rexy." "Rexy, huh?" Logan said, his tone warm. "I used to have a toy just like that when I was your age. He went everywhere with me." Ethan's eyes lit up. "Really? Really?" Logan replied. "Maybe you can tell me all about Rexy sometime." Anna watched the exchange, her heart in her throat. She had been prepared for hostility or awkwardness, but not for this quiet connection that seemed to form effortlessly between Logan and Ethan. Still, she remained cautious. She couldn't let her guard down just yet. Over the next few weeks, Logan and Ethan began meeting regularly, always with Anna present. Their first outings were simple, trips to the park, ice cream shops, and even a science museum where Ethan's curiosity shone. Logan marveled at the boy's boundless energy and inquisitive mind. Each moment they spent together deepened their bond, and Logan looked forward to their time more than he ever expected. For Anna, watching Ethan thrive in Logan's presence was bittersweet. She had always been enough for her son, at least she told herself. But now, she saw a light in Ethan that hadn't been there before. A joy from discovering a piece of himself he hadn't known was missing. One afternoon at the park, Logan turned to Anna as Ethan ran ahead to chase a flock of pigeons. "Thank you," he said, his voice earnest, "for letting me be part of his life. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm grateful." Anna studied him, her defenses softening slightly. "You're right. It wasn't easy for me to let you in, but Ethan deserves to know where he comes from. And I can see how much he means to you." Logan nodded, his gaze following Ethan as he laughed and played. "He means everything to me. I've spent my whole life chasing success, thinking it would fill the emptiness left by my father's absence. But being with Ethan, it's the first time I felt like I'm doing something that truly matters." Anna's chest tightened at the vulnerability in his words. For all his wealth and power, Logan was just a man trying to make up for lost time. A man who had been thrust into a role he wasn't prepared for but was determined to embrace. Back home that evening, Ethan couldn't stop talking about his day with Logan. "Mom, did you see how fast he ran?" I think he's even faster than me. And he said we can go to the planetarium next time. Do you think he likes dinosaurs too? Anna smiled, her heart aching with both pride and uncertainty. Maybe you should ask him. Ethan's excitement dimmed slightly as he turned to her. Do you think he'll stay, Mom? Or will he go away like my birth mom did? The question hit Anna like a punch to the gut. She knelt in front of Ethan, taking his hands in hers. Sweetheart, I don't know what the future holds. But what I do know is that Logan cares about you very much. And no matter what happens, you'll always have me. Okay? Ethan nodded, his expression thoughtful. Okay. Meanwhile, Logan sat alone in his penthouse, scrolling through photos of his recent outings with Ethan. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose that had nothing to do with profits or accolades. But along with that purpose came a growing fear of not living up to Ethan's expectations, making mistakes, and losing the fragile connection they were building. Logan knew he couldn't undo the missed years, but he could make a choice now. He could be the father he had never had, the father Ethan deserved. And for the first time in his life, Logan Carter, billionaire, tech mogul, and philanthropist, was willing to risk it all for something money couldn't buy: family. As the bond between Logan, Ethan, and Anna deepened, so did the challenges ahead. They were three people from different worlds, trying to navigate the complexities of love, trust, and what it meant to be a family. But in those moments of connection, Ethan's laughter, Logan's quiet pride, and Anna's cautious hope, they found something worth fighting for. The delicate balance Anna, Logan, and Ethan had been building for weeks seemed almost idyllic. Ethan's curiosity flourished under Logan's attention, and Anna, though still cautious, began to see Logan as more than just the man who had unknowingly fathered her son. He was trying to be part of their lives. But life has a way of complicating happiness. It started with an innocuous photo. A passerby at the park snapped a picture of Logan and Ethan tossing a frisbee, their uncanny resemblance impossible to miss. Within days, the photo went viral, accompanied by speculative headlines. Logan Carter's secret son? The media frenzy exploded from there. Reporters dug into adoption records, tracking Anna's name, address, and even the school Ethan attended. Paparazzi began camping outside Anna's modest home, their cameras flashing whenever she or Ethan stepped outside. Anna first learned of the scandal when her phone buzzed incessantly one morning. Answering a call from an unfamiliar number, she was greeted by a brusque voice. Ms. Whitaker, this is Karen Mitchell from the Daily Star. Do you have a comment on the rumors that Logan Carter is the biological father of your son? Anna froze, her stomach twisting. I have no comment, she snapped, hanging up. But the calls didn't stop. Soon, reporters knocked on her door, shouting questions through the windows. Ethan, who had been playing with his dinosaur in the living room, ran to her side, his eyes wide with fear. Mom, what's going on? He asked, clutching her hand. Anna knelt, trying to shield him from the chaos outside. It's nothing, sweetheart. Just some people being nosy. But Ethan wasn't convinced. Is it about Logan? Anna's heart sank. She couldn't lie to him, not about this. Yes, it is. But don't worry. I'll handle it. At Carter Enterprises, Logan's assistant burst into his office worriedly. Mr. Carter, have you seen the news? Logan frowned, pulling up his phone. The first headline made his blood run cold. Logan Carter exposed. The billionaire's hidden son. He slammed the phone down, his jaw tightening. How did this happen? We don't know yet, his assistant replied, hesitating. But it's spreading fast. Logan immediately called Anna, his voice filled with urgency. Anna, I'm so sorry. I had no idea this would happen. Neither did I, she replied sharply. But now my son is terrified, and our lives are being turned upside down because of you. I'll fix this, Logan promised. I'll find out who leaked the story and put an end to it. How? Anna demanded. You can't just make this go away, Logan. It's already out there. Logan was silent for a moment. Let me come over. We can figure this out together. No, Anna said firmly. I need time to think. And right now, I need to protect my son. She hung up before Logan could respond, her hands trembling as she locked the doors and drew the curtains. Outside, the reporters continued their barrage of questions, their voices muffled but relentless. The days that followed were a blur of chaos and fear. Anna kept Ethan home from school, worried the media would follow him there. She ignored Logan's calls and messages, her anger and mistrust growing daily. Even simple errands became impossible, with cameras and microphones thrust in her face whenever she ventured outside. Ethan, usually so full of energy, grew quiet and withdrawn. One evening, Anna found him sitting on his bed, clutching his stuffed dinosaur. His hazel eyes, usually so bright, were filled with confusion. "Mom," he said softly, "did Logan tell those people about me?" Anna's heart broke at the sadness in his voice. She sat beside him, pulling him into her arms. "No, sweetheart, Logan didn't do this. Someone else did, but it wasn't his fault." "Then why is this happening?" Ethan asked, his voice trembling. "I thought Logan cared about us." "He does," Anna said, stroking his hair. "But sometimes, when people know someone famous like Logan, they look for ways to hurt them. This isn't your fault, Ethan. And it's not Logan's fault either." Ethan buried his face in her shoulder, his tiny body trembling. "I miss him," he whispered. "Can't we see him again?" Anna hesitated, her emotions warring within her. She wanted to protect Ethan, to shield him from the chaos that Logan's presence had brought into their lives. But she couldn't ignore the bond they had formed. "We'll see," she said finally. "Let me think about it." That night, as Anna lay awake in bed, Ethan's words echoed in her mind. "I miss him." She knew she couldn't keep Logan away forever, not if it meant denying Ethan the chance to build a relationship with his father. But how could she trust Logan to protect their son when the world seemed determined to tear them apart? Across the city, Logan sat in his penthouse, staring at the investigator's report on his desk. He had found the source of the leak, a disgruntled former employee who had sold the story to the tabloids. Legal action had been taken, but the damage was done. Logan felt an overwhelming sense of guilt. He had spent years building his empire, but in doing so, he had also created a life that threatened to harm the people he cared about most. Determined to make things right, Logan called Anna one last time. When she answered, her voice was tense. "What do you want, Logan?" "I want to see Ethan," he said simply. "I know I don't deserve your trust, but I'm asking you to give me a chance. For his sake." Anna sighed, her exhaustion evident. "This isn't just about you or me, Logan. It's about what's best for Ethan." "I know," Logan replied, his voice steady. "And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to prove that I belong in his life." There was a long pause before Anna spoke again. "Okay," she said finally, "but it has to be on my terms." "Anything," Logan promised. The next day, Anna and Ethan met Logan at a quiet park, far from the prying eyes of reporters. When Ethan saw Logan, his face lit up, and he ran to him without hesitation. Logan knelt, wrapping his arms around the boy in a hug that spoke volumes. "I missed you, buddy," Logan said, his voice thick with emotion. "I missed you too," Ethan replied, clutching his father tightly. Anna watched the reunion from a distance, her heart heavy with conflicting emotions. She still had doubts and still feared what the future might hold. But as she saw the joy on Ethan's face, she knew she had made the right choice. For better or worse, Logan was part of their lives now, and together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The days after careful steps toward rebuilding trust marked the park reunion. Logan, determined to prove his commitment, took a more deliberate and thoughtful approach. Every interaction with Ethan was planned with Anna's approval, and he ensured that his public appearances were kept minimal to shield their budding family connection from further media scrutiny. One Saturday morning, Logan arrived at Anna's house carrying a small, neatly wrapped gift. Ethan rushed to the door, his excitement palpable. "What is it?" he asked, bouncing on his toes. Logan smiled, kneeling to hand him the box. "Open it and find out." Ethan tore into the wrapping paper, revealing a telescope. His eyes widened with awe. "Wow, is this for real?" "It is," Logan said, ruffling his son's curly hair. "I thought we could use it to look at the stars together." Ethan turned to Anna, who stood nearby, watching the exchange with cautious approval. "Mom, can we set it up tonight? Please." Anna hesitated but nodded. "Sure, sweetheart. We'll make it a family night." That evening, as the three sat on the porch, Logan guided Ethan through adjusting the telescope's lens. They marveled at the moon's craters and spotted Jupiter's faint rings. Ethan's laughter rang out as he excitedly described what he saw. Sitting back with a cup of tea, Anna felt a flicker of warmth she hadn't experienced in years, a sense of wholeness. "Thank you," she said softly to Logan when Ethan ran inside to grab his notebook. "For being patient, for taking it slow. It means a lot." Logan looked at her, his hazel eyes reflecting the sincerity in his voice. "He's worth it. You both are." Anna nodded, her guard lowering just a little more. For the first time, she believed they could find a way to make this work. Over the following weeks, Logan and Ethan's bond deepened. Logan found joy in the simplest moments, helping Ethan with his homework, cheering him on at soccer games, or listening intently as he described his latest dinosaur discovery. For Logan, these moments were a revelation. They were the antidote to years of isolation, years spent chasing achievements that now seemed hollow compared to his son's laughter. Anna began to see a change in Logan, too. The polished, unapproachable businessman she had first met was giving way to someone more genuine, more vulnerable. He was no longer just a visitor in their lives. He was becoming part of their family. One Saturday afternoon, Logan took Ethan to the local science museum. Ethan was captivated by the exhibits, darting from one display to the next while peppering Logan with endless questions. Logan answered each one patiently, his curiosity reignited by his son's enthusiasm. At the museum's gift shop, Ethan picked up a small globe. "Look, Dad!" he exclaimed, the words slipping out naturally. "This is so cool." Logan froze for a moment, the word Dad hanging in the air. His heart swelled with emotion. "It is cool," he said, his voice steady but thick with feeling. "Do you want to take it home?" Ethan nodded eagerly. As Logan paid for the globe, he glanced at Anna, who had joined them for the outing. She gave him a small, reassuring smile, acknowledging the milestone that had just passed. That evening, after dinner, Ethan presented Logan with a drawing he had been working on. It depicted 3 stick figures standing under a bright yellow sun, with their names carefully written beneath: me, Mom, and Dad. Logan stared at the drawing, his eyes glistening. "This is amazing, Ethan," he said, pulling the boy into a hug. "Thank you." Anna watched from across the room, her emotions conflicted. She had spent years protecting Ethan from the uncertainties of his past, but now she realized that embracing his connection with Logan didn't diminish their bond. If anything, it made Ethan's world more complete. For Logan, every moment with Ethan reinforced what he had been missing. He scaled back his demanding work schedule, delegating responsibilities so he could spend more time with his son. Anna, too, began to see him in a new light, not just as a man trying to atone for his absence but as someone genuinely invested in their lives. One evening, as they sat around the dinner table, Ethan looked up from his plate. "Can we do this every night?" he asked innocently. Anna exchanged a glance with Logan, a silent understanding passing between them. "We'll do it as often as we can, sweetheart," Anna said, her voice warm. Logan reached across the table, resting his hand lightly on Anna's. "I'll make sure of it," he said, his tone resolute. For the first time, Anna felt the beginnings of trust, not just in Logan but in the possibility of building a future together. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she was willing to try for Ethan's sake. The air grew colder as the holiday season approached, and the streets lit up with twinkling lights. Anna's modest home was filled with warmth and the scent of cinnamon and pine. Ethan had taken to drawing Christmas trees and snowmen on every scrap of paper he could find, his excitement for the season infectious. For the first time, Anna considered how to celebrate the holidays in a way that reflected the changes in their family. One evening, as she and Logan tidied up after dinner, Ethan appeared in the doorway clutching a drawing. "Mom, Dad," he said. The word Dad still new but no less heartfelt. Can we all spend Christmas Eve together? Anna hesitated, glancing at Logan. His expression was hopeful but cautious, as if he were holding his breath. What do you think, Mom? Logan asked gently, respecting her role as the final decision-maker. Anna smiled softly, looking at Ethan's eager face. I think that sounds like a great idea. Ethan whooped with joy, running to hug both of them. It'll be the best Christmas ever. Snow blanketed the city on Christmas Eve, turning the streets into a winter wonderland. Logan arrived at Anna's house carrying an armful of gifts, his usually polished demeanor softened by a casual sweater and scarf. He was greeted by Ethan, who immediately dragged him inside to show off the decorations. The small living room glowed with the soft light of the Christmas tree, adorned with handmade ornaments and a slightly crooked star at the top. We're just about to start the movies, Ethan said excitedly. Come on. They spent the evening watching Christmas classics, sipping hot cocoa, and laughing together. Logan marveled at how natural it all felt. This tiny, imperfect but perfect family moment. This was a revelation for a man who had once measured his success in stock prices and boardroom victories. Later, as they exchanged gifts, Ethan's face lit up when he opened Logan's present. A beautiful leather-bound journal with his name embossed on the cover. This is so cool, Ethan exclaimed. What's it for? It's for you to write down all your adventures, Logan explained. Stories, drawings, anything you want. It's your way of keeping track of all the amazing things you do. Ethan hugged the journal tightly. Thank you, Dad. This is the best gift ever. Anna watched the exchange, her chest tightening with a mix of emotions. She had worried about letting Logan into their lives, about what it might mean for Ethan and herself. But at that moment, she realized she had made the right choice. For all the challenges they had faced, they were building something real, something worth fighting for. The weeks following Christmas marked a quiet but profound shift in their lives. The bond between Logan, Anna, and Ethan grew stronger every day. Logan, true to his word, continued prioritizing his family, scaling back his demanding work schedule and focusing on being present. He spent weekends taking Ethan on small adventures, visits to the science museum, afternoons at the park, and even baking experiments that left the kitchen hilariously messy. For Anna, it was both comforting and bittersweet to watch. She saw how much joy Logan brought to Ethan's life and how much Ethan brought to Logan's. But she also opened up to Logan in ways she hadn't expected. They shared stories about their childhoods, fears, and hopes for Ethan's future. Slowly, the walls she had built around her heart began to crumble. One evening, as they sat together in the living room, Ethan ran to show them a new drawing. It depicted 3 figures standing under a glowing sun, their hands joined. Beneath the drawing, Ethan had written in wobbly letters, "Me, Mom, and Dad." Logan's eyes glistened as he studied the drawing. "You're a pretty amazing artist, you know that?" he said, pulling Ethan into a hug. Anna smiled, brushing a tear from her cheek. "You've captured us perfectly, sweetheart." As winter melted into spring, the 3 of them found a rhythm, a unique family dynamic that worked for them. Logan continued to prove his commitment, not just to Ethan but to Anna as well. He involved her in every decision, from choosing Ethan's extracurricular activities to planning family outings. One afternoon, Ethan turned to Logan as they walked through the park. "Do you think we can all go camping someday? Like a real family trip?" Logan glanced at Anna, a smile tugging at his lips. "What do you think, Mom? Up for an adventure?" Anna chuckled. "As long as you're the one setting up the tent." Ethan laughed, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "It'll be so much fun." That night, as Anna tucked Ethan into bed, he looked up at her with a serious expression. "Mom, do you think we'll always be like this? Me, you, and Dad?" Anna brushed a curl from his forehead, her heart entire. "I think we'll always be a family, sweetheart. No matter what." Ethan smiled, his eyes closing as he drifted off to sleep. Anna stayed by his side for a while, reflecting on how far they had come. They weren't a traditional family by any means, but they were bound by something more substantial than convention. Love, trust, and the willingness to grow together. Meanwhile, Logan sat in his penthouse, staring at the city skyline. For years, he had chased success, believing it would bring him happiness. But now, he understood that true fulfillment came from his forged connections with Anna and Ethan. They had given him something he never thought he'd find, a sense of belonging. As he closed his eyes that night, Logan made a silent vow to protect this family, to cherish every moment, and to continue building a future where love, not ambition, took center stage. For the first time in his life, he felt whole. And for the first time, he was ready to embrace the role that mattered: father and a partner. Together, they had redefined what it meant to be a family, proving that love and resilience could overcome even the most unexpected challenges. As the seasons changed, they looked toward the future with hope, knowing that the bonds they had built would only grow stronger with time.